Well, looks like the feds are actually doing something about all this Somali fraud. Including finding over the course of the last couple of years. To be fair, I don't think they were able to put the dots together until recently, thanks to Nick Shirley. But apparently, over the last 2 years, Somalis have been caught smuggling a grand total of like $700 million out of the Minneapolis St. Paul airport. So, yeah. But now between like all the cash smuggling, which it's interesting, if this has been happening for years and the TSA's known about it, but they're only just now putting together the dots, it's like, hey, you know, like what was the Biden administration doing or what were previous administrations doing? Why did it take Nick Shirley being the one to have to expose all this? Shout out to Just the News. Feds probe hundreds of millions in suspected Somali cash and luggage leaving Minneapolis airport. Pretty crazy stuff. The Transportation Secretary Administration flagged nearly $700 million in cash. I put my pinky up to my lip when I did that. Nearly $700 million in cash detected in passengers' luggage leaving the Minneapolis airport the last 2 years. A massive cash exodus believed to be tied to Somali immigrants and their money couriers, Homeland Security officials told Just the News. The official said the cash movements out of Minneapolis or out of Minnesota's largest airport began about a decade ago, around the time Democrat Governor Tim Walz took office, and has grown substantially in recent years. Though all were legally declared according to U.S. Customs rules, the bundles of cash and luggage, some as much as $1 million in a single trip, raised regular suspicion among TSA agents. So the Somalis would go there and they would let like the TSA agents know, hey, I'm carrying a bunch of cash. This is mine, whatever. And there wasn't much the TSA could do about it. But still, the TSA agents were all like, this isn't right. A lot of these Somalis are carrying a lot of cash. The mountain of dollars leaving the country is now being investigated by Homeland Security Investigations Unit as part of a broader probe into a multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme centered around the state's Somali immigrant community, where dozens have been charged with or convicted of federal crimes. In March of last year, a federal jury convicted the head of the now-defunct organization Feeding Our Future in Minnesota for what prosecutors called the largest ever fraud of pandemic aid, which involved $250 million, the BBC reported. So what is the deal with Somalia? Oh, I know why the Somalis in the United States are disproportionately criminal. Hashtag not all. Not every single Somali who came to the United States. Some of them, I'm willing to bet it's a very small number of them, but some of them came here genuinely seeking a better life and have not been criminal in the time that they've been here. However, that does seem to be the minority. The sheer number of Somali criminals, not just with the money laundering and the fraud, but also just like all the crime that they commit. How many times have you heard about Somali immigrants like harming kids or raping women? Like it's all over the place. Yeah, I think maybe we should put Somalia on one of those no-fly lists. One of those like bans no longer allow people to come from Somalia to the United States. I would be okay with that. The Trump Muslim ban, even though it only, it was like 6 countries, and it was an Obama era list, and now I remember reading recently, I think it's like Trump brought it back, the travel ban. Um, but yeah, officials said most of the dollars detected in luggage involved a small number of money couriers of Somali descent who took routine routes to Dubai via Amsterdam, usually from Minneapolis, but other times from Seattle, Dallas, Columbus, and Atlanta. Minneapolis travelers alone had 342.37 million in their luggage in 2024 and 349.4 million in 2025, and the totals nationwide are likely to be much higher, the officials told Just the News. So over the course of 2 years, they smuggled almost $700 million in cash out of Minneapolis. Think about that. But remember, the left is going to try to tell you there's nothing to see here and that we're all just a bunch of evil racists. TSA agents routinely flagged the cash movements to Customs and Border Protection and Homeland Security investigations, but there was little curiosity during the Biden administration, and investigations into the nature and players only began recently since Donald Trump returned to the White House, the officials told Just the News. Yeah, because the Biden administration didn't give a shit about, foreign troglodytes stealing, taxpayer cash. Because, that's commonly, what, you know, two stacks for the big guy. He commonly got paid himself in large sums of ill-gotten gains. So I'm sure he was just like, when he could think, he would say to himself, game recognized game. One senior official who declined to be identified but has firsthand knowledge of the issue told Just the News that there was, first of all, I hate that shit, this decline to be identified. Like, this guy could be lying, so, grains of salt and all that. Just because he's saying something I like doesn't mean I'm not skeptical. I can't stand whenever people, give, I don't like anonymous sources. Anonymous sources are often full of shit. There, one senior official declined to be identified as first-hand knowledge of the issue told Just the News that there wasn't much that could be done because the couriers always had their paperwork in order, but there were concerns about what was going on, and it may take Congress to change laws for federal authorities to get to the bottom of it or to stop it. Another official said that when federal officials inquired with Minnesota officials, they often got accused of being racist by asking questions about Somali immigrants. So, of course they did. Hey, why are all these Somalis smuggling out tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars or even $1 million? Why are they carrying this much cash in their luggage and leaving the country? Why? Why are you even asking? What are you, racist? Typical. Federal and state law enforcement officials said the Somali cash flows were well known in counterterrorism circles since 2016 through 18 timeframe because the concerns some of the money might head to Al Qaeda offshoots like Al Shabaab or Boko Haram. But most tracking of the money ended when the money reached Dubai because of a lack of interest and curiosity during the Biden administration, even as the transfers grew in size. The Somali couriers are believed to be a part of a much larger system in which legal and illegal immigrants are moving tens of billions of dollars a year out of the United States via flights or remittance payment vendors. Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malik told Just the News more than 200 billion leaves the United States annually through remittances, with Mexico alone receiving over 52 billion and billions more heading to China, the Middle East, and African nations. Some sizable portion of that involves illegal immigrants, most of whom crossed the border during the Biden years, he said. So, yeah, billions of taxpayer dollars are going to enemy countries, and they're being smuggled out by legals and illegals alike. And this is why I want this is why not only do I want all the illegals deported, but I want pretty much a large portion of, you know, legal immigrants deported too. Not all of them, but like a lot of them. Look, if you're here on an H-1B, working at a fucking gas station or in a restaurant or in a fucking hotel, you need to go too. If you're a Somali refugees, all the people came to the United States seeking refugee status, they all need to go. They all need to go, and once they all go, we need a 20-year moratorium on immigration. And that's crazy that I've doubled it. I used to say a 10-year moratorium on immigration. Now I'm up to 20. We need a 20-year moratorium on immigration. No more new immigrants for at least 20 years while we get our fucking house in order. Quote, it has been found that at least 4.4 billion in remittances sent to Mexico have been tied to cartel money laundering through small wire transfers, he said. Cartels don't sneak money across the border or throw the bags across the border, they wire it. And if we are serious about crushing cartels, we have to shut down their financial arteries. Yep. Yeah, I am well aware of cartel money laundering through wire transfers. I got a cousin who participated in that stuff, and he told me all about it. And, he got paid to do it. He got paid to fill out all the money wiring paperwork, and he got decent money for it too. So yeah, that's a thing that the cartels 100% do. Malik is teaming up with his state legislature to impose new requirements that remittance payment businesses ensure that customers are lawfully in the United States before they can send money to foreign countries, and he hopes other states will follow suit. Quote, Missouri is stepping up by cutting off one of the biggest remaining incentives for illegal immigration, which is unverified foreign money transfers, because the economy is something that drives everybody to come to the United States. Malik said in a wide-ranging interview with the John Solomon Reports podcast last week. Quote, I'm making this distinction very clear. Legal versus illegal immigration. I'm all for legal immigration. I am not for illegal immigration. And what we saw is the diversity of the last 4 years. During the Biden administration, the floodgates were open on the southern border, he added. It's crazy to hear a Democrat say that out loud, but, some of them have to be common sense. Remember, there was a common sense Democrat who voted against the party last year and got murdered for it. I covered that story here on the channel. Federal officials told Just the News that TSA and other agencies don't have significant authority to intervene or stop big cash movements on flights if customs declarations paperwork is properly filled out, and it may take action by Congress to create new tracking and stoppage tools. Quote, if you or I try to go through the airport and we had $10,000 in cash without declaring it, we'd be arrested, said Fred Phillips, a former CIA analyst and National Security Council chief of staff. It's a serious violation because it's linked to criminal activity, and it's absolutely clear that the Biden administration knew that this was going on and that they were looking the other way. It was part of their efforts to change the demographics of this country by encouraging illegal immigration, he added. Based the great replacement. Rep. Jeff Crank, Republican from Colorado, told Just the News No Noise television show on Tuesday night that he believes the current Minnesota fraud scandal will embolden Congress to make changes to the law to give federal authorities more power to investigate the exodus of U.S. money to foreign countries, especially from illegal aliens. Quote, we have to do it. It's embarrassing that Congress hasn't done this before, Crank said. These are financial controls that any company would have on corporate money. Any good company would have it. The board of directors would fire them if they didn't. I know why. I don't know why in the world we wouldn't have those kinds of controls. I 100% agree. I love my country, and we are the most powerful country in the world. And fuck other countries who say this, but I can say this because I live here and I love this place. Our country is kind of a joke sometimes. There's so much red tape for these cocksuckers to slip through. It's embarrassing. It really is. Trump has repeatedly raised concerns about the Somali immigrant fraud scheme in Minnesota, and his administration has dispatched hundreds of FBI, HIS, and IRS agents to investigate. More than 90 defendants, most of Somali descent, have already been indicted. Yes, so the people who said that nothing was going to get done about nothing was going to get done about the Somali fraud in Minnesota, no, stuff's getting done. Stuff is happening. As a matter of fact, right before I started recording, Nick Sorter posted this video on X, so this is a good time as any to show this. This is the FBI raiding a Somali daycare, stealing all their records. Well, not stealing, but you know what I mean, taking all their records. I shouldn't have said it like that. So yeah, stuff is happening. Quote, Somali gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone, Trump wrote on social media. Retired FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam told Just the News that investigators are likely tracking the payments of the immigrants who gave the monies to remittance vendors or cash couriers, an important step to determining whether any transactions have nefarious intent. Quote, I think it's very important, John, where you track it to. It's going to take it back. Sorry, let me reset. I think it's very important, John, where you track it to is going to take it back to where it first started. I think when you look at the orchestrated migration that occurred across the southern border, that was not people running from a war zone. That wasn't, people seeking asylum because there are all kinds of things happening below us. It's just people come from all over the world because they were told and it was broadcast the southern border is open. And I mean, I covered it at the time, whenever the new Fox News, I believe it was, was interviewing people coming across the border, and like one Mexican dude literally said, I came here because of Biden. Like, Biden got elected, and the bunch of fucking people flooded into the country, and they some of them when asked were even straight up admitting, yeah, I came here because Biden, Biden got elected, so I knew it was time. Defenders of the Somali community, like Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, claim the recent concerns about billions in fraud schemes and the cash movements are overblown by President Donald Trump, and that most in the Somali immigrant community are good Americans. Well, that's just two incorrect statements. Most of them are not good, and most of them are not Americans. Full stop. I tend to think that most communities are more often decent people than they are bad people. It's just there's, obviously with variances depending upon community. Somalis, I think, are one of the ones where you got more bad than good. Quote, as far as demonizing our Somali community, maybe he could help us on some things, Waltz told NBC recently, referring to Trump. Quote, demonizing an entire community, folks who are in the professions, educators, artists, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, they bring the diversity and the energy to a place like Minnesota. No, they don't. I mean, they certainly bring diversity, but they don't bring energy. They bring fraud and sexual assault and child abuse and all kinds of crazy shit. And for him to just randomly decide to do this, it makes no sense. Do your job, get the criminals out, secure our border, but do it with dignity and respect to the American tradition of respecting immigrants as refugees, as a beacon of hope. These people, these Somalians are not refugees. They're not. Fuck them. I got no love for the Somali community. Fucking go back to Somalia. If you people are artists and entrepreneurs, and stay in Somalia and make your country great. Stop coming here and stealing our money and fucking up our shit. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like and share the video. And if you're not subscribed, do that. And, hit that notification bell. And follow all my links down in the description. Be sure to, follow me on X. And, sub to me everywhere. And be a good Somali immigrant. And, I was trying to come up with a joke there, but I couldn't.